Thanks for joining us today here on East Idaho Newsmakers. I'm Nate Eaton, and we are talking with some movie professionals today. This is Kent and Brandon Lott. If you've been to the Center Twin in downtown Idaho Falls, or the Paramount Theaters, or the Blackfoot Movie Mill, you can thank these guys because they've made it happen. How long have you guys been involved in the movie business?
Well, I started in '82. I worked for Paramount Theaters here in Idaho Falls. Worked for them all through high school, and then after a mission there, and then Ingrid and I got married, and they moved us to Salt Lake. And we worked down there. I did it for Paramount Theaters in Salt Lake for about 2 years, and then they wanted me to go to LA. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to go to LA. So when I told them no, it ended my career with them.
So was Paramount Theaters at the time like a nationwide chain?
They were mostly in the West.
Okay.
They had some in Denver and Phoenix, quite a few in Salt Lake, Idaho. And you know, they had the Chinese theater down in LA, and so they had a big footprint in Los Angeles. But
so you really could have moved up in the chain.
Yeah.
You said no, and then what?
Well, we came up here, we come back, and I got a job at the Paramount, and I managed that for almost a year. And they built the Paramount in Rexburg, folks that had it. And you know, we don't have anything to do with the Rexburg Theater, but they were going to build one in Boise. When it fell through, they didn't need a manager because they could run it themselves. And so I stepped away, and then I started working one night a week at the Center. And then in '93, we bought the Center. It was a single house. And 3 years later, we twinned it, made the balcony its own theater. And then in 2000, we bought the Paramount.
So you guys have owned both for nearly 20 years now.
Yeah.
And you opened Blackfoot 2 years ago?
No, it opened in November. We had 5 screens open in November.
Okay.
And then the last 2, it took us about 3 months to finish up the last 2 theaters. But
And of course, Brandon is your son, and this has been a family affair all through the years, right?
Yep, all of our kids have worked through us, you know, all through high school they worked for us. And
Brandon, is this something you wanted to do growing up, kind of take part in the family business?
Yeah, so they bought the Center in '93. I was born in '92. So I grew up at the Center. I mean, I remember getting picked up from school, and we'd go right to the Center, and we'd get the shows started, and I'd sit down with Dad in the office and work on my homework, and I mean, that's what we did. And that's what I've always wanted to do. It's what I've always loved. And I mean, I grew up on a stool at the Center.
Oh, that's cool, eating popcorn, right?
Yeah, when I would leave to go to work, you know, when he was little, he'd just cry. So I'd take him with me, and then when he'd get sleepy, I'd put him down in the office. He'd sleep, and then I'd carry him to the pickup, and we'd go home. When the original Lion King come out, you know, we were super busy, and this was before we twinned it, so it seated about 350 people.
Wow.
And so all these folks would come in, and they knew us, you know, from coming all the time, and so a lot of those families would say, "Hey, Brandon, come watch the movie with us." And I'm sure they figured he'd probably bring treats, you know. So, yeah. So anyway, he would go up and sit and watch the movie with them.
And would you bring the concessions?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
He'd raid the concession stand. But anyway, it'd been, you know, Christmas week, and it was just crazy long hours, and we were super busy, which is all good. And I was exhausted, and so we got the show going, and I'm going to go home and, you know, relax. So I drove home, and I walked in, and Ingrid's, "Where's Brandon?" I'm like, oh my word. And he was up watching the show with the family. So I hurried back down there, and I got there maybe 5 minutes before the show got out.
You probably didn't even know, right?
He didn't even know I was gone. So the show got out, we said goodbye to this family that he was sitting with, and we went back home. But
I'm sure you have so many memories raising your family there.
Yeah.
So explain to me how the movie business works. Do you pay the studios to send you the films? How does that all work?
Well, it's evolved quite a bit. The last few years, there's been some pretty dramatic changes. So it used to be that the first run theater, the first week would pay 70% back. So it used to be 70 the first week, 60 the second, 50 the third, and it would drop 40 and then 35. Some would back in the day would go down to 30%. But now back then in the 90s, a 14-plex was almost unheard of. Most theaters around were 4 and 6 plexes. And now these films are playing so long in these big markets that at 35% they're not making a lot of money, and so they've changed that. So now they typically, and they're all different, they have their own personalities, but for the most part they're charging 52, 53%, and it's just a straight percentage.
So about half of what you bring in you send back.
Yeah, and then we got to pay the governor, their sales tax on all that. So you're looking at about 60% is our overhead on a film. The freight used to be pretty expensive when it was filmed because it was heavy.
Yeah, and you'd have to pay for that to get the film there.
You'd have to pay
and how far in advance would you get the movie?
Well, the first run, you're kind of booking them months out because you know what's coming.
Could you sneak in though and watch it before the public sees it?
Yeah, they let us watch this the day before.
Okay.
So, but when we, at the Paramount in the center for years, we were in the discount market, so we had to wait until the first run theater was done with it. So really, we wouldn't know, Monday afternoon or Tuesday if it's going to start on Friday.
Oh wow!
So we didn't have much notice.
So you said the center used to be second run, but now you guys do. Like, that's where I saw Toy Story 4 the weekend it came out.
Yeah.
But you don't charge as much as the other theater.
Right.
And that's just based on your own choice.
Well, by law, they can't tell us what to charge. They can set a minimum. It's got to be this much or more to be first run. But by law, they can't tell us what to charge. And, if we charge the same as our competitors, they're newer theaters and all that, it's pretty tough. And so at the end of the day, we want people to come. We want a family with 4 kids, 6 people coming to fill Ike for a $5 matinee. They can afford that. Yeah. Maybe once a month they can afford it, maybe once a quarter. I mean, it depends on the family and their situation, but we feel like at that price, it's very reasonable. And I just don't feel good about a $12 bottle of water, and so we really try to keep, and I say that jokingly, but I...
Some places it would be $12.
and it takes the fun out of it. When you're driving home and you're thinking, oh, I can't believe I just dropped $100 for an hour and a half of fun. And so, we want to make it in volume, we don't want to beat you up every time you show up to the theater.
Well, and even in Blackfoot, you're doing first run films at a pretty much cheaper rate than some of the bigger ones.
Yeah, we're charging the same as the center. It's $5 for a matinee and $7 for an adult. Our senior rate's $55. We have reserved seating at both theaters, which is nice. So the nice thing with Blackfoot is a lot of people are coming from IF and Pocatello. I would guess 35 to 40% of our customer base is coming from, outside of the Blackfoot area. But the nice thing is folks can go online. It's a $1 ticket, so there is a charge to do that. And, the people that do it for us, they don't do it for free. So, so that helps us have that technology. Yeah. But the nice thing is if you're coming from Rigby, which we have people coming from Rigby and American Falls and Lava to Blackfoot, which is crazy. But, if you're going to come and drive that far, you don't want to take a chance. So, you know where your bottom's going to sit before you leave your driveway.
And you do assigned seating too at the center.
We just started doing that.
And how do you get the films now? Is it like a download, or do you still have it on film?
It comes on a hard drive.
On a hard drive.
We plug it into a bay and download the content. And then they send us a digital key.
What has been the most popular movie over the decades? Any idea? Or some of the most popular?
I mean, I think this summer, the Avengers Endgame was something I've never seen anything like that before in my short career with the movie theaters. I mean, that was something that was just kind of out of the ordinary, and I think that it was built up for the last 10 plus years. Did you
guys run that for a few weeks?
Yeah, we ran that one both in Blackfoot and at the center. It played for multiple weeks, did really, really well every week. Usually a film does really well its opening week, and then its second week, its numbers kind of slowly drop every week. it seemed like with Avengers, it's like first 3 or 4 weeks, it was just like opening weekend every weekend before it, which was great, and I think that's how it was everywhere. But I think for us, you know, at the Paramount and the Center and at the Movie Mill, we really cater to the families with our prices and our concessions prices. And so it seems like the family-oriented films, the feel-goods, those types of films do really well for us. You know, occasionally we don't play a lot of R-rated product, but occasionally we'll bring them in, especially in Blackfoot, just because we have the room for them, and so we bring them in. And they just don't do as well for us, just because I think we cater more to the families. So those are the ones that probably do the best for us, I think.
Isn't that kind of a trend across the industry in general, that R-rateds don't do as well as PG-13 or PG?
Well, it's interesting because that pendulum has changed.
Has it?
So years ago, a lot of the folks that made the films felt like a PG or a PG-13 was the kiss of death.
Really?
And when Apollo 13 came out, everybody laughed, saying this is a PG film, it's going to tank. And it was so fantastic, the grosses were, that it changed the way people thought.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
it was like a monumental shift in their thinking. And so, you know, like when we picked up Avengers, you know, we popped over 500 pounds of seed in Blackfoot in 4 days. You know, so we were
500 pounds of popcorn.
of just seed. So it was nutty. It was fun nutty.
Wow.
And it's funny because people are coming from all over, and you know, it's got really a fun feel to it. You know, the barn that was out back, it was built in 1890. It was a creamery originally, and then they built the car dealership in 32 up against it. You know, when we tore that down, because it was a creamery, the walls, the floor, the ceiling, everything was full of sawdust. That was their insulation. And we hauled off 27,000 pounds of sawdust out of that building. Oh. Just sawdust only.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's nutty.
And you guys did it. We were talking before we were rolling how you were the general contractor.
Yeah, and so we were very hands-on, but we were able to use a lot of that old lumber you know, throughout the lobby. And you know, one of the funny things too is when the plaza closed, we bought everything out of it.
Back in the day,
Yeah.
knowing that this was coming.
Well, I've always hoped we'd build something. My wife is like, why are you buying all this stuff? So the sign on the front of the building that has all the times on it, that came off the plaza.
Oh, nice.
And right above the entrance, there's a big entrance sign there, and it came off the plaza.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of fun.
I had heard, and we were never able to confirm this, that more people, or the most popular movie Edwards has ever had was The Greatest Showman. Or that in Idaho, for some reason, this market, so many people saw that movie. Did you guys have that experience?
We weren't open as a first-run theater then.
Okay.
Yeah. So the center wasn't. We were playing discount, and so we had to wait forever
To get it.
And it still did well. You know, like when Titanic came out, Titanic, you know, was one of those big films, right? And when we picked it up at the center years ago, I put it on both screens because it had done so well. I thought this is going to be incredible. And you know, the opening night, all you could hear was crickets.
Really? Because
everybody had seen it. And the Paramount was the same with Avengers. Mm. You know, it didn't do very well for us because everybody had saw it, you know, multiple times. And so, but The Greatest Showman did really well for us. And what's interesting is they typically set a date that a film can go to the discount market. And we usually pick it up before that. But on that show, it went to that date. They were still playing it. They were still doing well with it. You know, our competitor was, and we were able to get it because they had this national avail date, and so it still had a lot of steam behind it, and so it did really well for us. But you know, it's kind of an interesting business, and you know, the trends change, and there's just so many variables.
I bet that you were pretty popular in school. Knowing that you guys own the movie theater, did you have, growing up, kids saying, "Oh, cool, you guys own the movies," or would you bring them over for your birthday parties to the theaters?
We had birthday. My birthday party every year was at the center, and we got together and watched a movie, and it was fun. You know, in high school we'd have midnight movies with, you know, the staff and our friends, and we'd get together, and, you know, after the dances in high school we'd have, you know, we'd watch a movie afterwards. And there's a lot of times, like early morning on a Saturday, we'd go hook up our Xboxes at the theaters and play. And like even now, like in our neighborhood, I work with the Boy Scouts, and so as an incentive at Scout Camp, if they work hard and they get enough merit badges, then we go over to the theater and have an all-night Xbox party.
Nice.
And the boys work hard because they're excited about that.
So you weren't really popular as a kid, right? You're the popular person in church.
But it's fun. It has a lot of fun perks besides just movies and popcorn.
Do you like popcorn, or are you tired of it?
I'm always eating it.
You're always
We pop it all the time at home. We have a popper, that like a whirly pop that you put on your stove, and probably 3 or 4 times a week we pop popcorn at home.
So is that your most popular concession? Popcorn?
That and soda, yeah.
Soda.
Yeah,
Those are the big things.
And we pop at the Wayman Theaters popped it back in the day. Mm-hmm. And those trends have changed too, on the ingredients, and for a while they said that coconut oil wasn't that good for you. Now they're saying that it's the best for you, and we still pop with coconut oil. The seasoning salt that we use, you can't buy around here.
Really?
We get it right from the manufacturer. They send us a 50-pound box of it. I mean, it's kind of a unique product in this area.
Any idea how many pounds you pop a week or a night?
Down in Blackfoot right now, we're probably ordering anywhere from 10 to 15 50-pound bags a week of seed.
Wow.
So
a lot of popcorn.
and there's some weeks that we go through that much and more, and then there's some weeks where we don't quite go through that much.
Yeah.
But
do you guys foresee the industry changing with Netflix and on-demand movies, and will the movie theater become kind of like the mall?
I don't think it will, and you know, we could debate it all day. Sure. But when Redbox came out, I was scared, and it ended up being a blessing for us.
How so?
There was a video store all over town. They were everywhere. They're closed now. And so you go to a Redbox and there's not a great selection. And so, you know, as in the discount market, we kind of were doing the same thing that Redbox was doing, but they didn't have a very big selection, so people were coming to us.
Nice.
And so our numbers actually increased. So I think at the end of the day, I think people want to get out. I think they're tired of looking at the dirty dishes in the sink, and they want to get out of the house. They want to go do something fun. And couples want to date. You know, they want to go out and they want to hold hands and they want to just, you know, have some fun together. And I think people want to get out.
you know, it is interesting. Like one thing that's over the last couple of years that's changed and that's kind of gotten bigger is, before a movie, you can buy it in stores. You can buy the digital copy, you know, on iTunes or Google or Fandango or wherever it is that you're buying them. So like the Avengers, we've been talking about it. You can buy it in stores, I think, in 2 weeks. But as of Tuesday, you could buy it online and have it in your home. And I think that's one thing that is changing, at least at the Paramount with the second run industry. You know, it used to be that a movie came out on DVD and we were done with it. And now, like you're saying with Redbox, the momentum's still kind of there because there's not as big of a selection, and you know, there's just not as many options to get it. But that's one thing that will be interesting in the next few years is this digital thing. The digital thing it seems like it's becoming bigger and bigger, and it's becoming sooner and sooner. So that'll be interesting. But I don't know. I think that movie theaters in general, the technology is too amazing. You know, especially down in Blackfoot, the technology that we have down there, the projectors. I mean, they're laser. There's nothing like that in the state. And if there is now that we've been open a little bit anywhere around us here, I mean, the picture quality is amazing in Blackfoot. And then the sound quality that you're going to get, you know, it's a 7.1 surround sound that's certified through the manufacturer. It's just it's a unique, different experience. And I think that people like that. So
This laser technology is amazing. I mean, it's like going from a 60s car to a brand new vehicle.
Really?
It's that dramatic.
Wow.
The clarity and it's just unbelievable.
So we opened Lion King in Blackfoot and at the center. And one of our staff, who's been kind of coming down and helping us, get through our first summer and get our staff trained in Blackfoot, he's been helping us in Idaho Falls and Blackfoot. So he worked the Thursday night showing at the center, and then he worked the Friday shift in Blackfoot. And so he walks in and shuts the door as the Lion King's starting down in Blackfoot, and he just stands there and he goes, "Oh my word." And I said, "What, is everything okay?" And he goes, "I can't believe the difference in the way that movie looks." And he goes, because we just put a new bulb in at the center. I mean, it looked good at the center, but it was amazing. I mean, it was noticeable amazing in Blackfoot on the lasers.
And animated films are even better than,
Oh, I bet.
yeah, they're just unbelievable. And the sound, there's 2 extra surround channels. And so, before you could get a front, and it can go side to side.
Yeah.
But now, you could have the sound go around the room like
It's
this.
legitimate surround
Yeah,
sound.
it's pretty fun.
That's cool. Where do you guys foresee your future? Where's Royal Theaters going to be in 5-10 years? More locations, more screens?
we've been kicking around some things, so I don't know what'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple of ideas, and we'll just see, what happens in the next year, and we're kind of doing our due diligence to figure out a few things, but I don't know. We hope to keep expanding, and I hope that people, especially in our area, because we're conservative. You go from Salt Lake, and this is my feeling, as I worked in Salt Lake, but the farther you come up the valley, the more conservative we get. And I think that, and I hope that people appreciate our pricing and our family values and all those things. And so, and we do a lot of birthday parties. We do all kinds of fun things, and I hope that people enjoy that. But I hope that we can expand. And there's some small markets that we'd like to be in. Blackfoot was perfect, but the problem with Blackfoot is to go in there and build a brand new facility. By the time you buy commercial dirt, it's so expensive, and then you pave the parking lot, do all those things. It just wouldn't pencil and work. It's just too expensive. The Blackfoot Motors building was fantastic because, it's a monstrous building. It doesn't look very big from the street, but when people walk through the lobby, and it's fun, but when you turn and walk and look down the hallway with all the theaters, I mean, people's jaw just drop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. But that building was perfect for us, and number 1 and 2, we dug down 12 feet inside that building to make the stadium work. I mean, it really was pretty nutty. We poured right at 600 yards of concrete at that building, and 12 on a truck's a pretty big load. So, we did a lot of really almost crazy things to make that work, but we hope to do that in other places. A lot of people, when we talk to them, say, well, you shouldn't do this. It won't survive here in Blackfoot. And we didn't know a lot about Blackfoot, and so we were nervous, about it, because it was a lot of money for us to invest in this building, and we really felt like, as we talked, that we had to involve the community. And so we started a Facebook page. It's on our Blackfoot Movie Mill Facebook, and so we started 2 weeks before we started demo in the building. And so, like the first 2, I just did them on my couch at my house and told people what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, and showed them the plans. And then each week, every Friday, we would walk through the building, show all of the things we accomplished that week. And anyway, the first time we offered free tickets, and they were for Idaho Falls because we knew we were a long ways away from being open. Yeah. But, we had 22,000 people view that in about 3 days. And Blackfoot's maybe 12,000 people or something like that. And so it's really kind of nutty, but, we typically had about 10,000 people a week, watch our video. But what we wanted is we wanted people to feel like it was theirs. because they watched it from day one. So we're pouring concrete, and it's been a long day. We're all exhausted, and this lady comes in, and she's panicked. I really thought there'd been a wreck outside. And finally, you know, she got her composure enough to we could talk, and she says, I just came from this garage sale, and there's all this stuff that has to go in the movie mill. So I'm like, okay. She goes, come with me right now.
You didn't know her?
Never seen her before. So I walk outside. Her husband's in the car. He's kind of doing this, you know.
Yeah.
And she's like, get in. I'm like, no, I'll follow you. Because I don't know him from Adam, you know. So I jump in my pickup and I follow him across town. And I mean, the car wasn't even stopped. And she was out on a dead run. And she runs up to the lady and says, do you still have that stuff? And she says, yeah, I took it inside. So she goes in the house and brings it all out. And she says, how much for everything? And she goes, I'll sell it to you for $20. And the lady goes, I'll buy it. And I said, no, I'll buy it. So we went back and forth. I ended up buying it. And anyway, so at the movie mill, between the men's and ladies' restroom, there's all this stuff on the wall. And that's all that stuff.
It came from the garage sale.
But that's the kind of stuff, you know, that I think it's not only good for us, but it's great for the community. You know, people are staying in Blackfoot. They're eating there. You know, the restaurants, talking to some of the owners, you know, they're having some of the biggest months they've ever had because their evening business is up. And there's a new restaurant that's opened down there, you know, since we have, and they came to us and said, we want to be there because of you guys and what you're doing here. And they'd been following us on Facebook, and
that's great.
So it's great for the community. And so, you know, we're way excited about that. And, you know, we hope, you know, we've neglected the buildings here for a couple of years because we've been so involved there. And so we've been doing some stuff here and dressing them up. And we're going to start painting. You know, they need painted inside and different things. They just need some love in it. You know, you get a lot of people in there. It's hard on stuff. Yeah. And so we're going to, you know, really focus on the buildings here in Idaho Falls for right now. And we're looking at some seating for the Paramount. The seats are in great shape, but they're older. So we're hoping to reseat those and just kind of dress these up a little bit and continue to do what we're doing.
Well, we're glad you guys are in our community.
Thank you.
From Idaho Falls to Blackfoot to everybody else. Thank you very much. This has been Kent and Brandon Lott. They're with Royal Theaters, the Blackfoot Movie Mill, the Paramount Theater in Idaho Falls in the Center Twin. Go see a movie this weekend. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching.